All right, practicum number 7. So amazing how long have we've been together already. Today, we're going to be without several people, it seems, and I'm just a little trying to figure out because everyone's texting or emailing last minute. And I think this is a good moment to say, both for those listening to the recording and to you here, just that, to let us know ahead of time is really ideal, obviously. And if you're going to let us know last minute, because it happens, please do it over email, because I have a really hard time navigating the WhatsApp or text things in the morning right before I step into this role. So it was just really useful if you email us. I have no idea who's not coming from the texts. Like, are you aware of someone skipping today? Can
Mouse
you
sent WhatsApp. I don't know,
mouse?
but I
Okay,
noticed she wasn't on your list, so I thought she'd
great.
got that now.
Right. Okay, I figured mouse out. Yeah. And then it seems like Stephanie's not here either. I did not hear from her today, but I think yeah.
Petra's writing that she's having difficulty getting into the Zoom. She just sent a WhatsApp.
Okay. Seems like Stephanie's not going to be here. Wow. Okay, this is much harder. I spent like an hour figuring out the breakout rooms for today, and then we can actually have them. But let's see. So we're gonna be without Darren for sure. Andrea L is not here today, and Josefina is not here today. I just got that very last minute. So Carmen, we're gonna revisit the breakout rooms in a moment when we see
Okay.
the final look of it and what's gonna happen. Maybe more people will join. Let's see. Right now we have 9. Wow. Where is everybody? Oh, Stephanie. Okay. So people, let's take a deep breath. Maybe best, like, I need it. Let's take a deep breath together, and maybe hands somewhere on your body where you need them. And a good exhale into the ground on your own rhythm, of course, breathing, massaging, touching your body. With each exhale, allowing yourself to arrive a little deeper into the present moment, into the now, letting your thoughts, your feelings, your the digressions and diversions from the moment just kind of all trickle down and root you deeper, land you deeper into this moment. Yeah. This is nice, right? It's good to arrive a little more in the present moment. And we had such a rich weekend exploring these parts of ourselves in different ways, right? And I wish we had another 8 weekends just doing that. But to continue today, I want to, I've been sitting with Irmak's question last over the weekend, where she's like, well, okay, we're working with these parts, and maybe we're working with a client for over a number of, and we're working with these 2 parts of the self that are so precious but so different and great. And then what? What's the goal here? Why, like, where are we going with this, right? I think it's a really, really good question. And I want to leave it open, right? Like, I don't want to answer. There's no one answer. But I do want to invite you to begin answering it together in some way. So I want to ask you to do a little thinking for yourself first, and then we're going to do a little bit of a discussion about it together. So let's think about this. Like when we did the movement on Saturday, and all of you were given a chance to tap into the one in you who's trying to emerge, the one who's trying to happen, the one who's wanting to happen, who wants to step forward, and she has a gift for the world, and she's like, she's kind of thing is waking up here. And then the one who's holding you back, the one who's kind of like, not yet, I'm not ready, don't like, or whatever, right? And so many of you named that second one as some version of, maybe not with those words, but some version of the younger self, the scared self, the overwhelmed self, the wounded child, right? Like the shy one, or the insecure one, or I think the mouse named her the incapacitated one, the like, right? And so, what if, and I think in the case of Josephina, for example, there was like the scared child, the frozen child, and the queen, right? So, if you're looking at, say, the leader, the ancient dancing priestess, right? The this big force trying to emerge. And then on the other hand, this very inadequate, like kind of they're not a short distance, like it doesn't feel like a short distance to be like, oh, well, the frozen child, let's see how she wants to pendulate to the queen. Boom, like how does she want to get to the queen right now, 20 minutes, right? It's like, oh, like these parts are not quite, we can orient them to each other, right? We can look at them, but there's no rush here, okay? Like we can't just be like, okay, frozen child, wake up, become queen right away, right? So let's think, like I'm inviting you to just do a little bit of journaling or just a little bit of thinking and visioning as a guide. Let's say we're working with part like some version of the wounded child, frozen, scared, overwhelmed, incapacitated, right? Abandoned, blah, 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 right? Like all of like, not, no, blah, blah, blah. Like she's very precious. She's amazing, right? Some version of that. And then on the other hand, we have the emergent leader, some version of the emergent medicine woman, leader, dancing priestess, guide, queen, right? You as a guide who is presented with these two parts, what are you curious about? Where do you want to begin? Right? And let me just say before you start your process, like I didn't make this very clear, but Nina helped me with her process as a guide to really clarify this, because there's so much to name all the time, right? But so a pendulation does not need to be, is not about going from the child to the queen, from the queen to the child, like, like in 20 minutes, let's do 20 cycles between the two. A pendulation, and this is really important, can be like, let's be aware that these two parts are here, right? We hold them together like, wow, the queen is over there waiting to emerge, but let's spend all of our 20 or 30 minutes or 40 minutes today paying attention to the scared frozen child, because we know she wants to be queen. We know that's going to happen eventually. But right now, let's love up this little child. Let's see why she's frozen. Let's touch her. Let's see how, and if she may decide to take one step toward the queen today. Another thing we could do in the same movement is if we want to be in the child, like so the client's in child, but there is the queen over there. So the child can look and do a little bit of work, like looking, imagining what might be, how she may get there, just imagining, not going yet, right? And we may also go into the queen, like, so we're working with the person being in the child, but saying, what if just for a few minutes you imagine the queen is looking at you, right? You're in frozen child, you're scared, you're wounded, you're with your pains and your insecurities, but just imagine the queen looking at you. What does she want to offer you? What does she want to, like, does she want to, like, is she moving toward you in a certain way? Does she want to give you something? Is she stretching your hand toward you? What wants to happen between the two of you right now, if anything, if you look at the queen for a few moments? So, what we're doing is some real slow pacing, right? We're not saying, let the frozen child be the queen, and, we're not rushing the process. We can't push what's not yet ripe to happen in 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but we're beginning to build the bridge more and more with each session between the two of them, and seeing how the child can be a medicine for this queen, right? So, keeping that in mind, think about this for a few moments. Let's take maybe 4 minutes for each of you to consider, in a session where someone comes to me and they're giving me these two very drastically different parts: the wounded child, the scared, frozen, incapacitated child, and then the queen, the leader, the medicine woman, right? What am I curious about as a guide? And how do I want to begin the work between the parts? How do I imagine beginning? I mean, I just gave you quite a few pointers, right? But in your own creative imagination as a guide, where do you want to begin? What directions do you want to take? So do some writing and some thinking, and then we can share when you come back with that. Just to say, it's it could be really helpful to also think from your own experience as a person, as a mover, as a client. If I am in these two different parts in myself, what would be helpful, right? Because that will be likely helpful for you as a guide as well. Okay, so let's start somewhere. Let's start hearing from someone, at least like one idea, maybe just to see, just to start the conversation. Erica.
I thought of starting with how does the child want to move? And can you show me how the child would like to move? And is there an emotion that arises with this movement?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you express the child through movement? Like,
Mm.
can you let her reveal herself a little more? Like, what kind of gestures or movements or, yeah. Mm-hmm. What if she's frozen? That kind of came up last time, and it's like, okay, she's frozen, she's not moving. What are we gonna do? Remember how in trauma work, the frozen collapse state was one of the states where there's very little movement, very little sensation. What are we trying to do first when there's very little movement? What is our, if anyone has an answer, like, or an idea, please let me know, and then we can go to the other people. You can just unmute and say something if you have an idea about what are we doing? What do we do when someone's frozen?
Trying to sense the breath.
Trying to sense the breath. What else?
Feeling the ground,
Mm, the
and like the air on the skin, like going back to sensations, even if they're like really small, just little details.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, small details like what can you feel, right? I'm not feeling, I'm not moving. What can you feel? What can you, like, is there anywhere in your body? Can you feel your heartbeat? Can you feel your breath, right? These are good suggestions. But you remember how you were also saying that when something's too small or too little, we want to make it bigger. If something's not alive, we want to bring somehow aliveness to it. We want to see if there's like any the smallest movement. Is there any one movement that's happening while they're frozen? Maybe any rocking, maybe it's like a small dance, right? And then just finding any way to bring a little bit more aliveness to this. This is really important, right? Like we have to have a vocabulary for what to do when someone's frozen, right? So the small dance, exactly. Here's one other thing. When someone's frozen, that's only a part of them, right? This is why it's so important to remember it's parts work. It's not, we can't let them identify with with the frozen part entirely. And that's that. Oh, you're frozen. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? That's one part of you is frozen. We're really looking at her right now. Wow, like we're really feeling her right now. That's really important. But not all of you is frozen. Not all of you is frozen. Can you notice some part of you that's not frozen? Can you think of a part of you that's not frozen? Maybe the child that wants to run through a field, maybe, right? Like, come up, let's imagine, let's come up with one part of you that's not in freeze. Let's become her too. So we're going to keep working with the frozen one, but we're going to also create one that's not frozen. Does this make sense? And then we have states to pendulate between. Okay? Because, it's so, sometimes a client will be like, no, I'm frozen, I'm numb, no, nothing, no, I can't move. Well, let's take a deep breath. You can't be all frozen because you just came to me today. Obviously, there's some part of you that's not frozen, right? So, just really important to do this kind of thing. All right, great. How do you know you don't feel like I like that, Irmak? Yeah, how do you know you're not feeling anything? You must be feeling something. Some part of you know that you're numb. Some part of you knows that you're frozen. That part is not frozen, right? Exactly. All right, so let's hear other suggestions about how to. Erica, I know you were, did you still want to say something, Erica, or are you done? Okay. So let's hear from other ideas about how to work with different parts. Let's go to Irmak.
I was curious to first explore the orientation of these two parts to each other, how they are standing, are they looking at each other, are they like what's the distance, are they looking at each other, or
Yeah,
how do they feel in the presence of the other without even moving first?
love it. Amazing. Yes, yes, that is something I would do. Absolutely. Now, Irmak, would you be curious to do that in the left and right? Maybe they're just kind of one of them is over here, the other, or would you just like stand one and notice the other for a while
Yeah.
and then go right. Give them.
Just the moment I notice the other, I would be curious to ask questions if the other also notices that, like her, or
Yeah,
is she is being seen, like, or is she the only one looking at the other? What's the distance between them?
yeah,
Is
beautiful.
she headed face to face, or maybe the back is like she's seeing the back of the other one? how how does she feel? Does she feel small and incapable in the presence of the other, or trust? And how does she
Hmm,
feel this in her body, like in
perfect.
sensation wise, like
Thank,
these kind of things?
thank you. Yes. Awesome. Yeah, that's one way to establish the dialogue, right? Just noticing and asking these questions about, yeah, because, as we're noticing one from the viewpoint of the other, we're kind of separating them instead of, right, we're separating them just briefly so that we can see how these forces operate within us and how they're feeling in the presence of each other. That's pretty awesome. I like that.
Like
Nicole, what do you
breath.
have? Thank you
Yeah,
very
this was
much.
actually quite similar, the same. I would also like to maybe start with the child and ask the child to look at the other figure and just ask what are the sensations and the emotions and maybe even the movement or sounds when I'm looking at this other figure. Just to find out, am I afraid, or am I longing, or is there anger or frustration, or
But put it to the movement, right? It's like,
yes, also movement. I mean, yeah, all of it just in one person, but how is the reaction to when they're
right,
looking at the other one, and then maybe vice versa, but maybe
right.
start with one first.
I like that. Yeah, I love it. Like, even I imagine it's almost like, is there a movement, a shape that
Mm,
comes in towards the other? Are you
mm.
reaching? Are you walking
Or
away?
maybe not. Yeah.
Are you walking away? Are you turning your back, as your
Mm.
Max said? Are you like, are you hiding? You know, so that could
Mm.
be so evocative to do.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Emotion and movement, right? Both.
Mm.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. And a sound. I love the sound idea too, by the way. It's
Mm.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
are you saying hello?
Mm.
Are you singing to her? Are you trying to call to her in some way with a sound? Beautiful.
Yeah.
Indigo.
Yeah, even when they see these multiple parts, even before going there, really giving them the agency of like which part is calling to you right now, which one seems to have more charge and needs more or yeah, just to really have choice around which one to inhabit
Mhm.
first, um, and and then from the inhabiting of maybe the physical form and the details around that of locating themselves in space, like the setting, and then what are they doing, really getting into perhaps there's an action here, and eventually the other part could join them in that action, and the same things that were just said could occur.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes. Yes, I like that a lot. Working with just giving a choice first, right? Like it's pretty important, like which one are you most curious about right now? Like which part do you want to begin with, right? And is there an action, like eventually when we explore one part that the client chooses, is there an action you want to take from this part toward the other? And just to flesh it out a little more, if you remember going into the breakout rooms on Sunday, I gave you this guideline that you could choose to work with. What is the medicine of the disempowered one, of the scared one, the wounded child, the one who holds you back? What is her medicine for the one who's trying to emerge, right? And what that's doing is taking the wounded one, quote unquote, and empowering her. And we empower her to be the medicine because the wounded one always, really always carries not just the sacred wound, but also the elixir of the wound. That is why we have the wound, so we can overcome our weaknesses somehow and make medicine of that and bring it to the one who's trying to emerge, right? So that is a really potent way to uh, to really empower the weak one, to tell her when we create a mythopoetic invitation like that, archetypal invitation like that, you are feeling weak, but you hold medicine. Go give it. Go give it to the one who's trying to emerge. Something really magical happens. The wounded child is like, oh, I can give medicine? Of course I have medicine. I am magical. I've lived my whole life, not just wounded, but also with magic and with miracle and with imagination and with intuition and with sensitivity. So we are empowering the weak one, right? That's important. Okay, Anna, what have you got?
I was thinking to look into the commonalities between the two to like reduce the space. So, for instance, asking, are they both dressed in red? Are they both holding the same object? Are they both passionate about the same topic? So that
Oh,
they,
I love it. I love it. Let's look at them. Let's look at both together. And what's similar between them? Instead of saying, oh, there's a world between them, it's like, wow, maybe all they've wanted to do is face each other and talk. What's similar between them? Are they holding the same thing? Let's notice one thing that's similar between them. Love it. Awesome. Thank you. Good. And Nina R. I mean Nina R. Or Nina Rubea. I'm sorry. I'm just, yeah. What have you got? Can you unmute?
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Um, I think Michelle mentioned that, and I encountered it a couple of times in myself and with other people that, of course, we want to, do all these things and go and get them in touch with each other and in communication. And I noticed that the for me, the first thing is often that the smaller part needs to be seen.
Yes.
And that's all it takes first.
Absolutely.
That to me, this is the first step. And then there's so much healing in that. And then I think then, you know,
Oh, it's so absolutely true. It's so absolutely true. Like which is why, I also reaffirmed at the beginning that a pendulation doesn't need to be working with both parts actively. A pendulation can be holding both parts in the same session, but not yet going to the powerful one. You can work the entire session with the child, just seeing her, loving her, breathing her, hugging her, holding the awareness that there's the queen also, but not going there yet. Next time we're going to work with the queen, you might say, but today let's just see what the child needs for the entire session. That
yeah,
still
and
is a
also,
continuation. Mhm.
yeah, and also have the queen see the child.
Yes.
That is something that is so potent.
Yes, yes, yes. Let the queen, let's be in the child, as we said already, but it's good repeating it. And let's have the queen look at the child. What does the queen feel as she looks at this child, too? So powerful. Thank you.
And I have a question because that's something that just popped into my mind. I think it's a bit dangerous, maybe, because of this being seen. And somewhere down the road, Indigo mentioned a mirror in another setting, and I was wondering how that would be if there would be a mirror and if that person is ready to
Like
really,
a real mirror?
yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't say no. You decide. You're the guide. It is definitely a possibility. The way I would choose to do it, if you ask me, is
yeah,
absolutely mirror is very powerful, but I would do it an imaginary mirror because not a physical mirror would not be powerful. Sometimes it is really powerful. I've done sessions with a real mirror. But just consider both, think about like one day maybe doing like look with your eyes closed into the mirror. I do a lot of that in my practices um,
okay.
because it really, I think it goes deeper and into the more mythopoetic when you're not looking. But then there's a whole other magic when you are looking in a physical mirror. So yeah, absolutely. Why not? Looking in the mirror and working with that. Totally. Why not? And Petra,
It's more an idea on the question if to approach it possible to ask the child if it about which part it once might have dreamed and bring it through the dream to life, or about what it would like to dream, and from there to go into, so how would this dream part move?
mm,
But
mm,
the child decides about what to dream, or tell her about what he dreamed already or she dreamed in the
wow.
past.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's several possibilities within the one
Yeah.
you're naming, but I just started imagining, wow, what if I asked this child, well, in your dreams, how do you if you had to dream it, if you had to imagine it,
Yeah.
how would you get to the queen? What would be your journey there? Slowly,
Mm.
take your time. Take the whole
Yeah.
40 minutes, dreaming with your whole body, moving towards the queen, crossing the mountain. Or wow, I love
Yeah.
that. It's so good.
It
Thank
it
you.
makes it more space. It gives more space because it's not reality, it's dream.
Yeah, right. So it's safer.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow. I'm so
Okay.
glad I asked you people.
Okay.
You had such amazing suggestions. Thank you so much. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So let's put it to the practice. Let's see how it goes. One thing I want to say is, yes, we have these great ideas, but our main role, or one of them, is still what? As always, put it in the body, bring it to the body, put it to the movement. Bring it to the body. Do not let it just stay in the imagination, right? Because as we discovered, when we put it to the body and to the movement, that's where the real change and the real charge and the real healing happens and the real process emerges, right? Um, which I just like I've been thinking about it so much, Nina Rube, and I wanted to say this, because remember when you asked me, well, how about proprioception? So the idea that like I'm aware of my movement and space, but then also my trance state. I'm seeing my perceptive state, and how you weren't sure how, but do I have to move? It was something about that, or at least it's how I remembered it. And I think you really answered, and I was like, let's put this question, let's give it some space, instead of answering it right now. And I think like last time, in a way, I felt you answering your own question, because you're like, it wasn't until I moved, it wasn't until when you told me move in that place that the real thing happened for me, right? And so in some ways, it's like, yeah, we're in the trance imaginary, so much is happening. I'm seeing all these things, but it's not until I make the movement inside that state that that the real healing and alchemy begin to happen. Anyway, I just thought that maybe that's not entirely connecting for you, but I felt like, it's really important to still bring the person into movement, into sensation, into breath, into sound, into especially shapes. Shapes are so powerful. What would be a shape? Allow your body to fall into one shape that expresses that child right now. Or allow your body to take one shape or posture that really illustrates the queen. Stay in that shape. How do you feel in it? What's the title of it eventually when you come to words? What is the title of it? What movement does she want to make? This posture. What are the sensations in there? What is the sound of it? And how does she want to move now, right? But shapes are so powerful. Okay, also the story of this part, stuck on a loop, attached to memory experience, you can also start. Okay, I feel, does it, there's a question here. Does it always have to be the wounded part that is empowered and saves the situation? It confuses me a little bit because when I did parts work in therapy, it was one of the stronger parts that was helping the wounded part. Yeah, in trauma work, it usually would be the resourced one, the powerful one, going and embracing. And yeah, that is why we're creating the dialogue between the two. We're seeing what really wants to happen, right? Or, but what we're saying here is that we're empowering the child and the weaker, the wounded one to find her medicine, to realize that she holds the medicine as well. It's not that, oh, we need to go and save the child, we need to go and embrace the child, but we're also saying, you have medicine for us. What is it? Like, what is your magic? Where, like, you know, you're abandoned or you're frozen, but what is your power? Can you connect to one of your powers? Is it the magic wand? Is it your creativity? Is it that you always love nature, that you could also that you could always love all these, you know, that you always knew what to do in a situation? So we're trying in some way to find out her power as well. I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but we're trying to empower the child. So we need to go into breakout rooms at this moment. Nina, do you have a question? Can you make it quick?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we see the part like the wounded child moving a little bit, if mirroring the movement could be helpful or not, because it can be activating, I guess, but it can also be like a kind of co-regulation, like, oh, I see you are moving. Can you open your eyes? And I am mirroring it back to you. Just wondering. Yeah.
I think that would be an amazing question to explore and practice, right? I think it's a really powerful question. And it's like one of the best ways to learn is to actually do it, right? And then it's like, oh, because we can keep theorizing about all of these things, but you know, maybe you do it, maybe, well, you're probably not going to be guiding this time, but in your peer session, try it out and see, ooh, let's see, it's a little risky, but you know, you can try it out, right? So, and then maybe you can tell us how it went. Okay, so today, we have created the breakout rooms in a way that those of you who guided last time would be with people in the room who have not guided yet. So obviously, you want to be a mover today or a witness. In some of the rooms, we will have 3 people, and in some of the rooms, we will have 2 people. It's just what our numbers are like today. And obviously, in the rooms of 3, one of the people will be a witness, okay? And I think we learn a lot by witnessing. Please really pay a lot of attention, because when you're a witness, you follow your impulses like, oh, I wish the guide is doing that, but she's not. And so like you're really testing your imagination, you're taking your notes, okay? Please take notes as a witness. And today we're going to give you longer. So instead of 25 minutes, which is what we did Sunday, you're going to have 40 minutes in the room. You, as a guide, can decide how long you want to take for intake, meaning talking, and which part and when you start going into the movement. Just remember, when you go into movement, it doesn't mean you can't talk anymore, or when you're talking, you can't also do embodiment, right? So it doesn't need to be, oh, now we're talking, now we're just moving, right? It's kind of ideally both together. So even at the beginning, when someone's talking to you, you can say, as you're talking, I notice your hands are already touching your heart. Is there an emotion there, right? So as someone's talking, you can already begin embodiment, right? But you have 40 minutes in the room. Something like maybe 5. Oh, wait a minute. Is that true? No, 35. We're taking 35. I'm sorry. So 10 minutes longer than what we did before. So you're doing some intake. Oh, which parts are you working with? Which parts of you are alive? And then you're doing the session. 35 minutes. And then at the end, we're taking 12 minutes for beginning with the mover to say how it worked or how it didn't work. And then with the guide saying what happened for them. And then with the witness. And if there's no witness in the room, it will be Carmen or I who will have a chance to share, because we will be witnessing the rooms. And maybe even if there's 3 people in the room, there will be time for Carmen and I to give it a little bit of feedback. And if not, we will give it to you after the session or whatever. So we have 12 minutes for sharing at the end, and then we come back in the main room. So 35 for the session, 12 minutes for the sharing, and I will be sending you the time marks. Any questions? Awesome. Enjoy. Carmen, do you have the rooms yet? Yay. So, can I ask you all to go to view and choose view is at the very top right of your screen and choose hide non-video participants. So Carmen and I don't distract you when we come into the rooms. Hide non-video participants. All right. Ready, steady, go. Wow. So many parts moved. The parts moved and felt and experienced so much. And you guys are so incredible with each other. I'm so grateful to be able to witness you. First of all, movers. Anyone here needing a little bit extra, a moment, support? Maybe Carmen can jump off into a room with you. If any of the movers want a little more decompression time, let us know, please. And you can also say it privately in the chat with Carmen. Please don't ever hesitate to ask us about just a bit more care, because it is a vulnerable thing, it is a really vulnerable thing to go in there, quick in, quick out, now guide, whoa, it's like it can be so disorienting, this training environment, So we are here if you need us. And can we have a round of applause for the guides? Yay! Woohoo! So brave, y'all. I mean, this was a long time, and of course, you've done peer sessions before, so it's not the first time. But you're following a specific guidance, pendulation parts, like you're just training. And you're also, I'm starting to notice, something new. The guides are really beginning to follow themselves, their own voice, their own ideas. They're not so much, oh, I should be doing this and that. It's more like the guides are kind of just really unfolding into their own voice, which I'm really happy to witness. So I want to hear from a couple of guides, maybe we can hear from all of them, but let's see what time. Especially, I mean, she can definitely share like overall how you felt in a nutshell. But is there like, are there any even like questions or like, what can I do about this kind of stuff when it comes up? Like, are there any thoughts about, I didn't know how to do this, or I don't know, like, what can I do in this kind of situation? So tell us how it felt overall, but also let us know if you had any like questions arise. And we had Nicole, Nadia, Andrea B, and who else got it today? Oh, Indigo, that's right, Indigo. Those were our guides. Anyone want to share? Just if you want to. No pressure. Nicole?
I can go. Yes, it was very interesting for me because in the beginning, the characters or parts of the movie were very little defined. And I find it a bit difficult to, how do we start? Where do we even start? And how much are we going into what we worked in last weekend or something new? But then we just took it from there. And interestingly enough, about halfway through, another part came out, which probably was the one that was very important, and that was very great to experience. Yeah, but it took some time to just get in there, and I realized just following the mover and what she needed right here and now, that was the key, and then we could go further. But yeah, at the beginning I was a bit confused how to even start.
Right.
How do I get to these two? Because she was describing a bit, but I could sense there was not so many words to it, and that's kind of it. And then, okay, how do we take it from there?
Yeah, excellent. Good work, because the like really, you can have like all of us teachers and all of us trainees give you an answer like this is where we think you should start. This is how you think you should do it. Here is like 5,000 options for what you should do. But it's really the moments when you begin figuring it out on your own that really matter, I think. And I think that's what's starting to happen. You're like, how should I do this? And it's like, well, I'm doing it. So like that is like, I think training it. I don't know. Yeah. I think you did a really great job there. Thank you, Nicole. Another guide, anyone want to share? Indigo, Nadia, Andrea. Indigo?
Yeah, it we actually I was working with Erica, and where are you? There you are. And she actually came in wanting, having new archetypes to work with, new people that were present, parts of herself that were present in the room. So it was actually a total process of discovery of what is point A, what is point B, and oh, there is a point C, even though we only talked about point A and point B, and then all of a sudden there is this third. So it was really interesting not having all these clues because they were emerging as it was happening. And so having to really just follow her guidance of where, okay. Oh, and there's another one. And I think the one thing I struggled with a little bit is when there's a cycle of movement happening, or there seems to be an emotion coming up, then I would land a question and I could tell that it resonated, but then the movement would change or it would stop and something else would happen. And she did express, if this is okay for me to say, that it was like it was landing, but that she actually then just needed space to change it somewhere. Am I making sense? Like there was something where it's like I felt myself interrupting the movement, but it then with a question, but
it turned out you weren't.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to say.
Perfect. Good. Thank you. Awesome. Good to hear that. Last share, anyone, any of the guides or
Yeah, I would like to share something because I feel since I have been in the witness part quite a bit in the first part of the training, I want to really address how wonderful and rich and beautiful it is to witness, and how important the feedback of a witness is. And I feel it gets a bit, like all the guides and all the movers. Yeah, I just wanted to address that. I am grateful for the feedback from Irmak, and it is they're really vital. I think they're really playing a good part, and it is good to have a witness there.
yeah. Yeah, yes, absolutely. I agree fully with you. And thank you, witnesses. We're not trying to exclude you, obviously. You're a very important. If it wasn't important, we would just do dyads, we would just send you into one-on-one rooms. But I do agree, like witnesses are incredibly important. We can't always give time for the witness to be present, but when we can, it's really, really powerful. it's supportive, it's nurturing, it's everything. Kind of amplifies the entire consciousness of the room, I feel. Yeah, thank you, Nina, Rubea. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to invite something a little different. The guides who guided today. So Nadia and Indigo were witnessed by Carmen, and Andrea and Nicole, I witnessed you. I'm giving you a little bit of homework. Send us a voice note on WhatsApp. Send, like to your respective, to Carmen or myself. And just tell us how it went for you. Like, do a little bit of an analysis. This is where I was stumbling. This is I wasn't sure. This is what I felt good about. These are the questions I have for you. Where am I taking this? How can I go about this? If I had another session with this person, what would I want to do? Right? Like any questions you have. So send us a little analysis of what you did and present us with any questions or thoughts that we can. So let us, instead of us giving you feedback, you tell us what happened and then we can respond to that. Does that make sense? Yes, no, yeah.
So all the guides or?
Yeah, all the guides. So Andrea and Nicole, you two would send a voice note to me, and then Indigo and Nadia would be sending a voice note to Carmen. Nicole, what's the question?
Yeah, just very technical. How do you actually make a voicemail on WhatsApp? Do you have to hold? I am just
No, you press
somebody.
on the little mic, you press on the
Yeah.
little mic and you slide it up so it holds on its own.
Okay.
Press and slide it up and then you
Right,
let it go and you will see the sound wave.
okay, then you talk and then
Yes.
okay,
You
because I
don't have to
tried once
hold it
and
the whole
it
time.
didn't work. I couldn't figure it out. Okay, thanks.
It's a good question. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I wanted to say, so just with, time is always just, I wish we can talk about all the things a bit more, but just looking at the clock, I want to share a few things. So I will share with you something I call the archetypal manual, which is something I created some years ago for some of my groups to work in the deep body studies. And it's a manual where you can really, really, if you want to deepen into archetypal work, it's not a big reading. It's not like a ton of reading, but it's like this manual where there's like examples of archetypes and it's a description of practices for what you can do with yourself in order to create an archetypal map. Like what archetypes are moving your life right now, like to create an altar for them, to create movement practices for them. And then, of course, to use that with your clients if you want, So, like, that's coming to you as a resource. And I don't think I'm going to give you much, we're not going to give you reading other than suggested reading, but there will be no required reading this month so that you can deepen into this archetypal work, have more sessions, do parts work and archetypal work with peers and maybe with people outside of this training and do some of this archetypal manual stuff, the thing I was just talking about, if you want to explore with that a little more. But do schedule those peer sessions, okay? Because so in the before July, sometime before July, which is a few months, right? A couple of months, we ask you to submit to us one recorded peer session. So you can begin recording your sessions. And when you like one a lot, right? When you're like, oh, this is the one I'm going to submit, you can submit it to us. And I know there's going to be questions about how do I record a session if I don't have a paid Zoom account. The answer is I don't know. Let's figure it out somehow. But this will be one of the things. So start thinking about it now. Maybe start recording all of your sessions if you aren't already. And lastly, I want to leave you with this last part of your homework, which is about your personal genius sheet. So I'm going to share my screen and just do a little bit of explaining, just a little bit of, oh no, how did that happen? Here it is. And let me, just give me another second. All right. Perfect. So I'm going to show you and I think you all saw it, but this will also be on the resource page. Oops, which part am I showing? Yeah, perfect. So this is what I would love for you to work on until our next weekend together in May, which is in 3 weeks from now. It's coming pretty quickly. It's your person. So, and I will also share, and you can see now, also I might share it today, or just I'll share it in an email and on the resource page, the same sheet, but with examples. So you don't have to think too hard about what this means, right? But I think, just begin thinking. I know this is for many people very confronting to work with this. It's like, oh, my professional and career skills. Oh no, I don't have any. So many people, when I ask them about natural talents and skills, they're like, oh, I go in depression. I start crying because I don't think I have natural skills and talents. This stuff is very natural to come up. So I just want to say many of us have these moments, of like, oh, no, I don't have any good skills. I don't have any professional skills. It's not true. It is not true. You can have your feelings about it, full permission. But please, please remind yourself that you came to this world blessed with natural talents and skills. So when I ask you, like, you can start working in this fashion, start with the right side, okay? Do not fill out this last part. So who is here? Your personal genius. We're gonna do this together. You don't have to fill this out, but start working first with your childhood passions and hobbies and favorite roles. So it's so simple, right? It's like I loved playing roles. I loved uh being a teacher, or like I loved having my dolls be my classroom. I loved being in nature. I loved climbing trees, you know. We're not asking why you loved it or how it serves you or how it makes you who you are. No, we're just asking, what did you love? What did you love to do when you were a child? What kind of a child were you? And here's some examples just to kind of get your thinking going. Like some of these are mine. Performing in front of the mirror, singer, investigator, private detective, salesperson. I loved selling shit. I don't know why, but I just loved creating shops and selling potatoes and apples and loved selling things. Ballerina, theater director, actor, firefighter. But you can also say like playing outside, speaking to the fairies, caring for animals, drawing, being with other kids, family excursions to the woods, sword fighting, games that involve moving my body. You can say all kinds of things. Just get in touch with your child. You can even work with that in a peer session, like schedule a peer session with one of the people here and say, I want to work with my child. I want to really remember everything. I want to play in the movement. I want to remember everything about what kind of child I was, right? And then going into natural skills, you know, this is where most people are really confused. Oh, what are my natural skills and talents? Oh my God, I don't know. So let me give you some examples. Please don't be that hard on yourself. It can be something like singing. I sing, I can sing, poetry writing, spoken word. I can dance. I'm a dancer and mover. I dance. I have in a rhythm, composition. I can kind of hear, I'm kind of a DJ, I hear rhythm. I can do composition. I can direct and lead a collective. I have like leadership skills. I'm a team person. I like to be a supportive person on a team, those kind of things. One of my natural skills is to make food, to make medicine for the people. I love making food. That's a skill. Do not deny skills that you have. Like, how about I'm naturally punctual? I'm always on time. That's a skill, right? That's a talent. That's a good quality. Or I'm kind. I'm non-judgmental. I can hold people with love and compassion. That's a skill, right? So these kind of things. And maybe you're not entirely, you can't exhaust all of the things. You can be exhaustive. You can't name every single thing. But the ones that come to you are the ones that matter, the ones you can think of and touch your heart, those qualities. That's enough. You can make a full list of all of the things in your life, but just enough, like 10 to 8 to 15 qualities, right? So you can do all 6, start with that first funnel, and then the second funnel, those 6 bubbles. Do not fill out the last one. And just we're gonna move and work with that on the call in May during the weekend. If you have any questions, don't afraid to ask. All right, I think I've said it all. Any questions or quick, anything we've forgotten to mention or you need to ask about? And just to be clear, I am saying yes to Bulgaria, to the retreat center. I'm sending a deposit. Are we doing this thing? We're still there. We're doing it. Okay. And hopefully you're all are joining us. I mean, yeah, that's the hope. Okay. Thank you so much. Let's unmute to have a sound into the space. Oh, Erica, what's there?
Can we book flights already? Or
Yes,
would you seem to
you can
wait?
book flights. That's what yes, you can book
Okay, good.
flights. Yay. Oh, and before you book flights, we have to, ideally, you get to the Sofia airport by 3:00 p.m. on Thursday, so you can leave with the group shuttle. For some people, it might mean that I don't know, but we're trying to leave in a shuttle around 3 p.m. on Thursday. And I'm going to send an email about that. All right, let's unmute and just put our sound and our voice and our sigh or exhale into the space. Thank you, guides and movers and witnesses and people. See you soon.
Adios.
Thank
Adios.
you. Bye.
Bye.